folks, today I want to talk to you about the brand new racing league that's out there. It's a single maker motorcycle league for just female riders. We're 2 rounds in so far, so I want to break down the top 6 things that you need to know about the Women's Circuit Racing World Championship. So let's get right into it. Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Racing Show here at RacePlazaMedia. My name is Pia, and I am so excited to talk to you guys today about the Women's Circuit Racing World Championship. We're, as I mentioned, 2 rounds into this brand new racing league, and I want to talk to you a little bit about it so you're ready to hopefully join in for the next round and maybe even catch up on the previous rounds. You can find all of the racing and qualifying sessions for free on YouTube, and they're perfect bite size. They're about 20 minutes races, so it's easy to watch, and let me tell you, they are intense. It's so much fun. I'm brand new to MotoGP this season. This is the first time I'm following it, so motorcycle racing is still a little bit new to me, but I was of course going to watch the women as well, and it has been amazing so far. But let me not get ahead of myself. So let me tell you guys about the top 6 things that you need to know to get into the World WCR. So let me start off by telling you the thought process behind it. So basically, the International Motorcycle Federation and the World Superbike Organization came together and announced last year, 2023, in April, at the Spanish Grand Prix, that they wanted to create a women's-only league. The idea behind the league is not to segregate men and female riders, because they do compete alongside each other in Superbike and also in the Moto categories. However, women don't have enough representation out there. They don't have enough support. So this is another platform for the women to show what they can do so they can find more sponsors and more money to be able to go up through the ranks. So as mentioned, in April, the 2 organizations came together and decided or announced that they wanted to create this new league. In October, they finalized a little bit more details about the format and how many riders are going to be on the grid, which I'll get to in a little bit later in the video. And then now this year, we finally kicked off the World WCR. I do have to say, Women's Circuit Racing World Championship is quite a lot. So World WCR is a little bit more quicker off the tongue. So I'm going to keep saying that throughout this video. And believe it or not, women have a long history in motorcycle racing. Women were even banned from motorcycle racing. So back in the day, in 1962, there was a very famous female rider called Beryl. She wanted to compete in a race as part of the International Motorcycle Federation. However, they didn't like that very much. So they started throwing obstacles in her way. First, they made a weight requirement, which they didn't impose on any of the other motorcycle races, just the race that Beryl wanted to participate in. So they said she would have to weigh, or every rider has to be a minimum of 9 stones and 6 pounds, which is approximately 60 kilograms or 132 pounds. And she, at that time, weighed less than 8 stones, which is less than around 112 pounds, aka 50 kilograms. So that was quite an issue for her, but she started gaining the weights, which they didn't think she would, because they thought she was like this pretty housewife. She wouldn't want to lose her femininity by gaining a little bit of weight, but she said, screw them, she's going to gain the weight. And she was missing just a little bit, so they allowed her to add weights to her suit to make that minimum weight requirement. So she was able to participate in one of the races. However, for the next race, the International Motorcycle Federation imposed a ban on women motorcycle racers because they thought it would be too hard for an audience to watch if a female motorcycle racer would get injured or even pass away. That would be bad press for them. So they ended up banning women, period. For a long time, no women were allowed to participate. Of course, we have many great motorcycle racers in the past, women in the past. However, I don't have time to mention all of these in this video. I will make a separate video featuring and highlighting all those women that have come before, the amazing ones that are now on track with the World WCR. So let's break down a little bit more the World WCR for you. Let's talk about the calendar first. So this year they will be competing in 6 rounds with 2 races per round. Currently, we're already 4 races in. They've already raced in June at the Misano World Circuit in Italy, and then they also raced at Donington Park in the UK just this past weekend. And up next, they're heading to Portugal. So the next race you'll be able to watch is August 9th through the 11th in Portugal. After that, they'll be heading back to Italy for another round, then again to Portugal, and lastly, they will finish up the season in Spain in October. So let's talk about the racing format. How does a weekend look like in the World WCR? So first off, we have Fridays, you have practice sessions, as well as qualifying with a super pole lap. And that qualifying session on Friday will set the starting grid for the first race, which happens on Saturday. Then the second race will take place on the Sunday, which the starting grid is determined by the fastest lap times completed on Saturday's race. So it's very easy to understand. It's very straightforward, which I absolutely love. Each race is about 20 minutes long, which is a perfect bite size. And as mentioned previously, you can watch it for free on YouTube on their YouTube channel. And let's talk a little bit more about their scoring system as well. It's a little bit different because racers get points up till the 15th place. So first place starts off, of course, with the 25 points. Second place gets 20 points. Third place gets 16 points. And then it goes all the way down until the 15th place will get 1 single point. Next up, let's talk about the regulations. First up, sporting regulations. As I mentioned previously, the races are about 20 minutes long, but there's a minimum of 40 kilometers, aka 25 miles per race, and a maximum of 70 kilometers, which is about 43 miles per race. And each grid is made up of 24 permanent riders. Each event also gets 2 wildcard entries, and Dorna, the World Superbike Championship, is also allowed to add additional riders per event, but the maximum grid cannot exceed 30 riders. And all the competitors can be anywhere between 18 and 50 years old, which I absolutely love that there's such a wide age range. You can see it also on the current grid. There's a variety of people, with some younger new generation riders, some of them with a lot of experience, but we'll get into a little bit more of the entries later in this video. You might also be curious about how much does it cost to participate in the World WCR. So from what I've seen online, the entry fee is 25,000 euros, and that includes the bike, usage of the bike, they don't own the bike, the racing kit, tires, fuel, oil, and racing service, and also access to the paddock area. Let's move on to some technical regulations. So what type of bike are they riding? They are riding Yamaha YCF R7 motorcycles. Those are 2-cylinder bikes with about 80 horsepower with 689 cc. They're also all fitted with a Yamaha GYTR racing fit, and the maintenance and setup is all managed by a singular organization. However, the teams are allowed to make minor adjustments to the bike as needed. They're also all driving on Pirelli tires, just like the Superbike Championship. Fuel is supplied by Panta Racing Fuel, and the lubricants are provided by Motul. So for you to have an idea how the performance stacks up, the performance stands somewhere between the Super Sports 300 and the Super Sport Series. And lastly, let's talk about the entry list. So as mentioned, we have 24 women permanently on this season's grid. Of course, we will have additional wildcards and event entries throughout the season. However, these 24 women are absolutely incredible as is. Not only do we have representatives of 5 different continents and 18 countries on the grid. So it's a very diverse grid. And the most riders are from Spain with 6 riders total on the grid. And then we also have France and South Africa with 2 each. I really love seeing the diversity of the grid. However, I do have to say, based on the races I've seen so far, just in MotoGP or in a lot of motorcycle racing leagues, the Spanish and the Italian drivers so far are definitely dominating. They're always competing right at the top. So far, we've only had Spanish winners of the races, but again, we've only had 4 races so far. But nonetheless, it is very impressive to see the women also dominating so far in the women's only league. I do want to give a shout out to a couple of the riders on the grid just to show you the talent that is on the grid. Starting off with Ana Carrasco, the Spanish rider. She was the 2018 Supersport 300 World Champion. And so far, she's also already won one of the races with the World WCR. Then we also have Beatriz Naila, another Spanish rider who won the 2023 European Women's Racing Championship. We have Italian rider Roberta Ponciani, who has won several races of the LCIF Women's European Cup. And then lastly, we also have Maria Herrera on the grid, who is the current Moto E World Champion. And she's the one woman who's so far won three out of the 4 races so far. I hope I didn't spoil this too much for you guys, but you can still watch the races. Trust me, it was so interesting all the way until the last corner of the last lap. So as you can tell, the grid is stacked with amazing talent. There's so much action that happens during the race. As mentioned, I've seen just the last 2 races because I missed the first one. I didn't realize that this was happening, guys. So I watched the last 2 races this past weekend, and they were absolutely incredible. Action-packed from the beginning to the end of the race, not just in the front, in the middle, in the back, all over the grid. It was so much fun to watch. I hope you will give it a chance and check it out. And I also want to emphasize again that this World Circuit Racing World Championship for the women is not to segregate the riders. It is just to give them another stepping stone, another opportunity to get more sponsors, to get more support so they can rise up in the ranks in the mixed leagues, because they're still encouraged to still compete in those leagues, and they do still do that as well. So I hope you'll be tuning in to the next races of the World WCR on August 9th through 11th, which will happen in Portugal. And with that, I hope you learned something today. Let me know your thoughts on the World WCR and whether or not you'll be tuning in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys here again at the Daily Racing Show. Bye-bye.